Hi Sunil. Hi, thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks for the platform. Much appreciated.
Thank you for your time. Hi everyone. So today, it's a special topic. It's about the Ama Dablam as a mountain, as a climb, and I think we couldn't have any other uh, person other than Sunil because he has some incredible amount of experience in a very short span of time, and I think more than just the mountain itself, I think our idea is to bring some inspiring stories, from people because it's eventually they themselves who make the stories. Thanks, Sunil. I'll just give a very brief. I think from what I know about you, you started climbing in year 2021, which is just a couple of years back, and he has done Everest. He has climbed, I think, peaks like Island Peak, Lobuche, and he has done Ama Dablam. Ama Dablam was last year in October 22, and it's why we are having a conversation that's specific about this mountain because it's a very striking mountain and it's a very different beast altogether when you compare it to other very popular climbs around in that region. So Sunil, what I would like to start is the point that I've just touched and what you shared that you just started climbing a couple of years back. Uh, so what was the spark? And if you can share how old are you, so that people can actually put it to some sort of a perspective that at what age have you started climbing, and what all what led you to this sort of a path that you are on.
Okay, so you're putting me in a spot, Chetan, by asking my age. Anyways, I'm just over 50, 50 years end, and even though I started climbing in 2021, the preparations for that has been a tremendously long journey. Okay, so I need to take you back to 2011, where I was supposed to see Everest from a flight in Kathmandu. The weather forced the flight to be cancelled. And that day, the first thought that came to my mind was, hey, why the hell should I see Everest from a flight? But I rather see the world from its peak. So that was a very striking thought. And surprisingly, what happens is when we get some big thoughts like this, the natural tendency of the mind is to start doubting it, asking a lot of questions. Is it possible? Right? Is it too big? Surprisingly, that day, I never got a second thought. Okay. It was just that beautiful thought. It remained with me for a long time. And I got to know after a couple of years, 2013, that climbing Everest was not uh, anymore financially cheap, right? I thought Everest would probably cost you 50,000, 1 lakh. But then I was for a tremendous shock when I got to know that it is very expensive. So
Right.
that is the time I started working towards uh, my financial goal to accumulate sufficient funds because it was my passion and I wanted to make sure that it is my money that I'm going to climb with and not, bring in sponsors because, there are a lot of other complexities. So it
Right.
was 2018, I realized that I have funds. And from 2018, the journey of preparing physically, preparing mentally, preparing for clarity of thought, those all started coming together. And eventually, I started climbing in 2021. So that is in brief how the spark came up for climbing.
Fantastic. So have you been physically active before this period, or was it that you started, obviously the financial part is one aspect of the entire climb, but
See,
but
yeah, when you start the financial goal, you start working like a donkey, literally. And when you start working
right.
like that, I was a grown-up panda, 95 kgs. Okay, no
Wow.
physical activity, full of fat, full of visceral fat. I was huge, and it was only from 2018 I started a very active fitness regime, I would say. Okay, and in 2018 I was not sure when I would be climbing Everest, so I had to make my journey sustainable. I had to make it
Right.
long term. It was not that okay, I stay fit for a few years, do Everest, come back, and then I go back to my original lifestyle. Okay. So I didn't want it to
Right.
happen that way. So that is why it took me almost 1.5 years to shed my weight. Uh, I am
Right.
currently around 63, ideal for my height. I don't have too much of
Fantastic.
fat in my body. And yeah, so it took me considerable amount of time to get back to a good fitness regime.
Great, great to know that. We'll come to that in sort of a bit of a detail, at a later point. But also, coming to this period of when you started, let's say, accumulating funds, training, and the entire process started of, let's say, the logistics of, Everest started. Yeah,
Mm,
they start many years before.
mm,
Now, many things happen, during this phase. Let's say things are coming in the news about various accidents and everything. I'm sure when you must have done online research, you would have come across a lot of, let's say, maybe negative articles or things about, let's say, there's a traffic jam on the Everest and all of these things. So, were these all of these negative points at any point sort of playing at the back of your head that okay, maybe, like, I don't know whether this is the right decision. Maybe should I look at something else? If you can share that a bit.
Okay, so let me talk about the 2019 incident. Okay, so I may be a little bit controversial here, but I don't see it as a negative incident. See, they were a set of climbers, okay, who had come to climb Everest. They all had prepared well. They all had
Right.
invested a lot of money, and unfortunately, they didn't get a good weather window. Okay,
Yeah.
so the weather was not very clear for a longer duration of time, and it so happened that only they got a very limited weather window, and in that weather window, everybody had to push. Okay, so we didn't see that in 2019. We saw it even this year. Okay, so the
Yeah.
weather window shortened. A lot of climbers. You would have seen news this year about frostbites, highest number of deaths on Everest. So
Yes.
2019 incident didn't impact me, but it taught me a very, very important lesson that in the mountains, you need to know when to quit.
Right.
Okay. So that's the very, very important lesson I learned because when you're climbing, there are many factors that will guarantee that you don't take a rational decision. Okay. That will guarantee you. What are those? One, you have paid a lot of money. Okay.
Absolutely.
And I am around
One.
1,000 meters down the summit and my frostbite indications are showing up. What do? A lot of people climb. Okay.
Right.
Secondly, you are completely out of energy. You know that
Right.
you cannot climb, but then you still climb. Why? Because your ego comes in between. Okay. I've told the world that I'm going to climb Everest. Now, what will people say? Okay.
Yeah.
So 2019 was very important for me because it taught me that, whatever happens, I need to be able to take clear decision, whether it is for the right, whether I'm going to summit or not summit. Decision cycle is very important. So it didn't bother me. And what I also do, this might sound funny to a lot of people, but that's the reality. I don't spell about my next project to a lot of people very early in the game. Okay. The news about Everest, that I'm going to summit Everest, got to was known to my family only 6 months before I actually climbed Everest. You may ask me, what the heck, why? Because if you tell it to a lot of people, there are only a handful of people who will support you, okay, towards your
Right.
goal. But the majority of them will pull you down. For example, hey, why the hell you want to do it at this age, right? You're like
Yeah.
50. You got a wonderful family. You got kids. Kids are growing up. What will happen to them if something happens to you? A lot of negativity comes, and that is exactly what I avoid, right? Because
Right.
if I have to go to the mountains, this has to be very clear, right? You need to have the
Yeah.
clarity. So I don't tell my projects. I don't disclose my projects to a lot of people, and I've trained myself to remain positive for the entire period of time. during the expeditions. I do get some instincts that, hey, this might not be the right time to do this. Sometimes I listen to those instincts, sometimes I don't. Okay, so this time for Lhotse and Makalu, I had very strong instincts in March that it's not giving me the good feel. Didn't listen to the instinct, went and couldn't climb both. But I'm still happy about it because the decisions I took there really saved my life. And I'm able to talk to you today.
Right. I think that's a very important one because when you're going for something as challenging and as dangerous, if I can simply say, because it's easily one of the people see pictures and people see, okay, wow, what a view and everything, but the kind of danger it has and the kind of risk climbers and people put themselves through, that is at another level. And for that, if you're already distracted and there are multiple thoughts playing in your head, I think that really takes a toll. So I think keeping that mental clarity, I think that's one thing that's probably very rare that I'm because right now a lot of people they live through social media in a way.
Yeah.
Obviously, we see your, we're able to see fantastic, footage that you share from your mountains and everything. But then there's a phase to it. Like you share it probably after you've done the climb. You're sharing your stories and your inspirations or anything else to inspire people. But the entire build up to it, I think keeping that focus is very, very important.
Yeah,
So,
and mountains, if something happens to you, they don't give you a second chance. In cricket, you get bowled, you can get back to the pavilion, come back and play, okay, the next game. In the mountains, if something happens to you, as simple as a frostbite, it's very difficult to get you back down, okay, and lives can be lost. So for all the people, who are actually aspiring to climb, you need to prepare well. Okay, so don't go with the social media hype of Nimsdai, and they have trained for years. Okay, so
yeah,
don't go with that type of thing that, hey, Everest is doable or Ama Dablam is doable or any mountain is doable. No, I think we need to respect the mountains. We need to understand our capabilities. We need to understand our limitations. Do everything
absolutely,
possible in our control, right? And there are a lot of things that are not in your control, obviously, but you'll be stronger to address those uncontrollable.
absolutely, fantastic. So coming to Ama Dablam, when you were climbing Everest, when you thought of it, was Ama Dablam already in sight, like in your mind? Like had you made up, okay, after Everest, this is my path, tuck tuck tuck, this is what I'm going to do, or was it like, okay, I'm already spending a lot of money on Everest and I'm training for this, so let me just first focus on one thing and then I'll see where I want to go next.
No, this happened in 2021 because I was actually, my first climb was Labuche East. Okay, so
Okay,
I started off climbing a 6,000er, I did a 7,000er, and only after building sufficient level of expertise, confidence, and clarity, I attempted Everest. So this happened in 2021. I was en route to EPC to do my Labuche, and that was the first time I saw Ama Dablam. Okay, I didn't even know the name. My Sherpa leader told me that is Ama Dablam. It was such a beauty. Okay, and I think that was also the day that I got the thought that, hey, this is the mountain that I'm going to climb someday. Okay, never doubted it. A lot of people around me said, oh, it's very challenging, that, this, but my mind never got that second thought about, hey, is it doable? Is it not doable? It was very clear in my mind that, someday I'm going to summit this. So I thought about Ama Dablam in 2021, September 2021, and I submitted it exactly 1 year later.
fantastic. Okay. So coming to the training part, for the Everest as well. I mean, you said you started pretty late. We've already spoken about let's say late 40s is when you sort of thought about climbing the mountain and everything. And by then, either people have done these basic and advanced courses much earlier in their lives. But I mean, I don't know whether you have done. If and what was the course then? Because if you haven't done, if you have had no experience on the mountain, either training or climbing, and then you're looking for these, you have these bigger goals. What was your path?
Okay, so I will talk about five things.
Yeah.
In order to climb or in order to achieve anything in your life, okay, be it your biggest goals, you need five things. Like you need financial strength. Okay, if you want to go and study, you need money. Nothing is free. You,
True.
you need physical strength.
True.
You need mental endurance.
True.
You need clarity of thought, and you need most importantly skills. Okay,
Right.
so by 2020, 21, I realized that I had money. I was physically fit, mentally very much endurant, right? You can't touch me when it comes to endurance. Okay, my clarity of thought was absolutely focused. I didn't have the bloody skills to climb. Okay,
Mm.
and that is when I realized I couldn't get admission into mountaineering institutions because I was like 48, 49. So this
Right.
became a showstopper. So that is when I realized there should be some way. Okay, because if your dreams and goals are really big and you're not doubting them, somehow you will figure it out. Okay, you will figure
Yeah.
out a solution. So that is when I was connected to one, very senior Sherpa in Nepal. His name is Lakpa. He's the owner of 8K Expeditions. I got in touch with him, and he truly was an inspiration for me. I took him as a mentor, and when you find the right mentor, there is a saying that you can learn years of knowledge in probably a very short duration of time. That is exactly what happened when I was training under him for Labuche East, and this is 2021. Okay, since I couldn't do basic mountaineering, I decided I'll go to the mountains, learn it from a Sherpa, and within 15, 20 days, he taught me literally everything. Okay, and the advantage that I got was since I was physically fit, very, very fit. Okay, I didn't have any problems jumaring myself up. I had the strength. Okay, I just needed to learn the technique. Today, what happens is a lot of people try to learn without the basic strength, and that takes a
True.
long time to even learn that skill of jumaring or rappelling down, or how do you move your upper body and lower body so that your jumaring becomes a little bit stress free. Okay,
Right.
so since I was ready, physically fit like crazy, right, this learning took me 15, 20 days, and I was like prepared in many ways to start climbing. So I did Labuche. I went to Imlang. Imlang is a very difficult mountain to climb. I don't think there is even today not a single Indian has climbed Imlang because the weather is different, the challenges. Yeah, so I would have been the first Indian that day if I had not gotten a frostbite. I was around 130 meters from the summit. Okay, and I couldn't feel my nose, and that is where I learned that taking decisions at the right time is what will save you in the mountains. So my mentor said, Sunil Bhai, the mountain will be there. Your family is waiting. Let's go back. So that is when I defined my success criteria. Coming back to family, one piece, fully alive.
Right.
Okay, I don't want to come back with a broken hand, frostbitten, and I want to come back
Right.
fully alive, not in a coma, not almost gone. So that became my success criteria, and I still follow it today. Right, if I feel very difficult in the mountains, I actually use the success criteria to make a decision. So it was all learned in the mountains. All my skills were learned in the mountains, and technical skills, which we will talk a little bit later about Ama Dablam, that came over a period of time after I did Everest in 2022.
Right. Yeah, I think going to the summit is just halfway. You till the
Yeah,
time you're not back at the base camp safely, I don't think it's a you're not there to tell the world that you have successfully summited.
yeah.
So
I don't even consider coming back to base camp as success. I consider coming back to family as 100% success. Base camp is what, probably 85% success. Okay, from there to here, anything can happen.
yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So, where is the other mountain? This is Indian that you have spoken about. Which region is it and how high is the mountain?
Imlang is in Nepal. It's around the Manasalu range, and
That's
that's
true.
a
Okay.
7,136 meters peak. So my plan before doing Everest was I should be done with a 6,000er. I should have touched a 7,000er. I was planning to do a basic 8,000er like Manasalu, but I realized that after doing these two and evaluating my fitness and strength and endurance, I was very much fit for Everest. So that is where I pushed for it.
So coming to the this time that you've spent in Nepal learning and preparing for Everest, whether it's the technical skills and also realizing, okay, yes, physically you're fit, but what other additional work you may have to put in for let's say Everest or anything else. But coming to the technical part, these courses that you do, basic or advanced and everything, these can like people do it in multiple years. One year they would do the basic, the other year they would do the advanced and weight and everything. And these are long courses in which things are divided as, let's say, rock craft and ice craft and snow craft. And you're obviously learning in a much bigger team. So that versus you learning solo under your mentor, your specific mentor, uh, and what time frame did you take, and what all specifically, let's say, comparing the course, if we can say, because I'm asking this question from the point of view of, let's say, there's someone out there, some budding climber who has crossed the age, or let's say does not have the time to go and spend a month at an institute and learn, but is still open to go and have an experience that you had. So how would you compare this time solo under your mentor versus all these courses that run for almost a month?
Okay, so if you have the age and if you're still young, I would definitely suggest or recommend please go and do those courses. Okay,
Okay,
for several reasons because you get to learn a lot of things at a very, very economical way. Okay,
right,
so I don't know the current price of basic mountaineering course, but you learn everything. It's much cheaper. You get accommodation and you get to climb a very basic, peak to get
right,
you that skills. And if you do the advanced, again, it's much cheaper. You will climb and then you will be ready. Okay.
right,
Now, in my case, I couldn't do that. So I took learning the skills as part of my climbing expedition. Okay. So I didn't first learn and start climbing. Okay. And I've seen a lot of people in my age do that. Okay. So they go to Labuche East, learn the skills there for a couple of days, and then summit Labuche. It's
right,
doable. But in my case, the training was a little bit extended because my aim was not Labuche, my aim was Everest and beyond. So
right,
that is why I decided that I will do Labuche, learn the skills. Instead of doing a training for 2 days, I did it for an extended period of time. I think it took almost 10 days to become very confident with my climbing abilities. Then Imlung, I went and climbed. That gave me a very live experience of some of using some of the technical skills. Then I understood what my strengths were, what my weaknesses were. And
right.
then in 2022, I went to Leh Ladakh in the month of January. And there I did a lot of rock climbing and ice climbing because that is the season, right?
Yes,
So just improved my jumaring, improved my descending skills, improved my confidence, improved my speed. Because if you're talking about an 8,000er, speed becomes very critical. Okay, you need to be
right,
fast, and even Ama Dablam speed becomes very critical. A lot of factors for that. Okay, and when doing Everest, it gave me additional learning because you have to go through the Lhotse phase, which is very inclined, a lot of jumaring. You have to go through the Hillary step, which is a torture. So just to do the comparison, if you've got the age, please do these courses. Right, it is going to tremendously help you. It is not expensive. You get trained under some really good teachers. These mountaineering institutions are really well known, run army style, and you will gain both physical strength, mental endurance, your skills, right? And then you can work on the other two aspects much easily. And if you take this other approach, it's going to be one expensive. Okay, because going and learning climbing in Nepal, doing the climbs simultaneously is going to be expensive. Okay, and for you to do that, you should be physically fit. Okay, you should be mentally strong. Okay, only then you'll be able to go and do this type of a thing that I have done. Learn in a live mountain. Otherwise, learning in a live mountain is not easy, and I would not recommend it unless you are physically fit and mentally strong.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great one because a lot of people sometimes they also go for the kind of environment these courses give you because of age or other from other different backgrounds, and it's like a sort of a fun outing for people who may not be looking specifically to climb mountains, but as an overall sort of an outdoor fun activity for a month outing as well. But I think yeah, for you it was like a much more sort of specific target with a time frame that you had to sort of get this in to be able
Right,
to do your
right.
so yeah,
And
right.
and and for me also, if you look at the way the journey has happened, it has taken 11 years from the day
Yeah,
I thought about it to the day I submitted Everest. It was 11 years. It was not a short journey. Okay,
yeah,
so I want to tell the viewers that don't be under the impression that it all happened like this. He went 2021, he did Labuche, 2022 Everest. No, it was a long 11 years of hard work, perseverance, patience, consistency, whatever you may want to call it as. 11 years.
and in those for a lot of people in those 11 days they may fizzle out. A lot of people lose their focus.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult. Like sometimes people will change. People say, instead of doing so much, look what's happening at Everest. Look what's happening in the mountains. I may be happy doing scuba diving or something else. But I think yeah, sticking to that sort of a thought. So I think yeah. So that's another aspect. Being mentally so strong and focused on your goal. Is there something specific you do generally in life? Let's say meditation or any other activities you do that keeps you focused, or is it just something that you're just blessed with?
No, I'm not blessed with anything. The fitness, I made it as a journey. Okay,
Yeah.
whether I'm climbing or not climbing, I do my runs, I do my strength training, I do amount of yoga. I used to meditate before, but now running has become meditative for me. So when I just run, I can just clear out a lot of thoughts from my mind. It gives me a lot of clarity. So I run more often these days.
Okay.
Not 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers. I run long distances. I do ultra distance cycling. My longest distance is 600 kilometers in 38 hours.
Wow.
That's my best timing so far. But what I would tell people is, if you're having a goal, make that goal so big that it becomes much bigger than your excuses. Okay. Why do we find it difficult to wake up tomorrow and go for a run? Because our excuses today are bigger than our goals.
Right.
Okay. So you'll have 100 excuses tomorrow morning to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go for a run. Okay.
Right.
It's cold, it's raining outside. But whenever I plan a project, I make that goal so big that excuses fizzle out. Okay. I don't have to these days think tomorrow morning that I need to go for a run. It happens. Okay. I just wake up, I do my daily course, and the run happens. Okay. And I'm a working professional. I come back, I get back to work. And the evening, my excuses are much bigger. Sorry, my goals are much bigger. I go to the gym. I work out for 1 hour. I come back. So make your goals bigger than your excuses. That is the only way you can bring consistency into your lives. Whether you're climbing mountains, whether you are wanting to become an athlete, whether you want to become an entrepreneur, you want to become a good professional in whatever you're doing, this is the only mantra. Okay, motivation fizzles out. Okay, if you depend on me for motivation, God bless you. Okay, God bless you.
Fantastic advice. So you have to keep that goal as bigger center of your life and let everything else revolve around it in a way.
Absolutely.
So that
And if you
that
keep it, if you keep it that way, you will meet the right people at the right time. Okay. You won't have to struggle to do anything. Things will happen. Okay. So the body is sufficiently intelligent to make things happen. Except that, we allow excuses to ruin our journey.
Right. Great. So, okay, coming to the crux, the Everest versus Ama Dablam, or the main climb, the Ama Dablam that you climbed last year. Uh, you know, going into history or learning about it, some people climb Ama Dablam before because they think, okay, it's a an acclimatization, and then they climb Everest. Probably these climbers are various in terms of age. So as they are able to climb Ama Dablam and then do it. But in terms of technicality and the challenge, how do you rate or compare the two mountains? Uh, because you've done both, and I think you're the best one to actually really talk in detail.
Okay. So, no, that's a good question. And a lot of people ask me, hey, you have done Everest, what else is next? Why do you want, that's you have done it. But at the base, always remember that every mountain has its own sweet challenges. Okay. Be it a 8,000er or a 6,000er or even a small hill next to your house. They will
Right,
have their own sweet challenges. It depends on that particular day. How is the weather? Okay.
right,
How is the conditions around? How is your mindset that day? Okay. How is your leader's mindset that day? If you talk about Sherpas, we also need to be cautious. How are they feeling that day? Right? So at a base level, please remember this thing that every mountain brings with it its own suite of challenges and hardship. Now, going above that, if I want to take two examples of Everest versus Ama Dablam, Everest is an 8,000er, Ama Dablam is almost 7,000. Okay. So the challenge of Everest is you are in the death zone. Okay. When it comes to Ama Dablam, you are not in the death zone. So Everest becomes quite challenging for each one of us because we are using bottled oxygen for the first time. We are experiencing death in the death zone. You are literally going into death in the death zone. You lose your appetite. Your thinking, your decision making, slows down considerably. And when all this happens, your mind is thinking about, oh, I should have done that in my life. I should have hugged my wife before leaving. I should have done that in my life. I should have met those people, right? This is what happens when you're in the deathbed, right? We have known stories, we have read articles, what the nurses say about people dying. So Everest has its challenge. Now, when it comes to Ama Dablam is known for its technicality. And what do I mean by technicality is there are several sections that are like 90 degree, okay, literally vertical. And there's a place called a Great Tower, which is almost 50 meters in length. And as it goes up, it also becomes like this. You're actually going up this way.
like an
And
overhand.
in this section, yeah. So in this sections, right, there is no snow, there's no ice. It's a rock face. And Ama Dablam, you are wearing a big boots, you are wearing crampons, you are wearing a big down suit because Ama Dablam is an extremely cold mountain. You need the big boots, right? So you tend to slip. Okay. And since it's a vertical climb, you need a lot of upper body strength to pull yourself up. If you go with the assumption that, hey, the Sherpa will be there and he will pull you up, he can't because it's 90 degrees. Remember that, gravity, you will know what is gravity when you are hanging up here. And Sherpa, who is almost your weight or less than your weight, he will not be able to pull you. He may assist you, but he will not be able to pull you. So in that way, it becomes very technical. The second challenge with Ama Dablam is the camp setup. Okay. So the base camp is at, if I remember correctly, 4,500 meters. Camp 1 is at 5,700 meters. So you're gaining a 1,200-meter elevation within one day, and you're going and staying there. Okay. Normally, even you guys know, right? When you allow people to ascend on a particular day, you don't allow them to ascend more than 500 meters in elevation. Now you're doing a 1,000 1,200 meters elevation gain. Okay. Now, if you're slow with acclimatization, the very first challenge will come at camp one, wherein you will feel really out of shape. Okay, because
Altitude,
you have
yeah.
covered 1,200 meters within a few hours of time. Base camp to camp one is an extremely long mix of walk and climb. It can mentally drain you out. Okay,
Right.
and the tent setup in Ama Dablam is also very treacherous. Okay, even if you take camp one, it's a very rocky surface. They put small tents, and in tents where you are supposed to be two people sleeping, there will be three people sleeping because there is no real estate there to put many tents. So you will basically start struggling for space, right? Your body is struggling to move, but you can't. So if you've got acclimatization problems, if you're not able to acclimatize fast, you will have some serious challenges in by the time you reach camp one. Now, camp one to camp two is roughly 300 meters of elevation gain, but you get something called a yellow tower. So yellow tower is again a very vertical face, just 10 meters, but very challenging to climb that because one, you are jumaring, you are
Yeah.
losing energy in the upper body. You can't grip with your foot because there are not many cracks that you can find where you can grip. Okay,
Right.
so you will literally pull yourself up, and that will literally drain you out. And from camp one to camp two, the other challenge is the narrow ridges, right? One side you got the mountain, but the other side is a steep fall. So you need to be very focused, right? And you need to know how to maneuver those ridges. And some ridges are like this. They end and then you need to jump over. Okay. So you need to know how to hold on to the rope and do the dance to go across these broken ridges. So when you reach camp two, you are at almost 5,000, 6,000 meters. And you would have seen pictures of camp two. Okay.
Yes.
It's like this, and the tents are,
Tens
10 to 15
are like
tents
vertical, tens are like slant.
vertical. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're always roped. You're always, on a safety. You're always, clipped onto a safety rope. So you will have other issues. Okay. Nature call. So there's
Right.
not much place you can go out and pee or loo. Okay. So
Yeah.
that becomes another problem. Okay. So you're eating, you need to eat well, but getting it out of the system is problematic at that place. So camp two becomes very difficult. But you don't spend even a night in camp two unless you're doing a rotation. You spend one night in camp one, you do one night in camp two, and then come back. But normally during the summit push, you reach camp two as early as possible and do a summit push the same day night. So it's the very dynamics of Ama Dablam is very difficult. One is altitude gaining is very fast. Okay. Now from camp two, there is nothing called a camp three. There's nothing called a camp four. So from camp two, which is at 6,000 meters, all the way to
Right.
the summit is 800 meters in elevation. And in between, you get this great tower, which is a very, vertical climb, 50 meters. And after that, you get the mushroom ridge. Mushroom ridge is extremely narrow, okay, with vertical falls on both the sides. Okay, and then you cross
Right.
that mushroom ridge, you reach a designated place called a camp three. Okay, there are no tents there except one for rescue purposes. And from there, 6,300 meters is camp three. And from there, you start pushing all the way to 6,816 meters. So it's quite laborious. Okay. And for this, you need both physical endurance and mental endurance. Okay. And we'll talk about how do you train for physical endurance a little bit later. Okay. So Ama Dablam in general, in particular, is a very different beast. It's a beauty and a beast. Beautiful mountain, but a beast because of multiple reasons, as I said. Acclimatization gets challenging because you're gaining too much of elevation every day. Okay, sometimes one rotation will not be sufficient. Sometimes you'll have to do two rotations. Even two rotations will not be sufficient. I saw a lot of people doing three. And imagine doing three and losing all the energy and going for a summit push. Okay. So you need to be aware of that factor. And yellow tower, gray tower are extremely torturous to climb. So if you don't have your upper body, lower body coordination, right? I used to do a lot of wall climbing, okay, to practice that, not wall climb, come back, sit and relax continuously, go up, come down, okay. That gave me a lot of coordination in terms of moving my upper body and lower body, and that really helped. So it's very technical. You need to be very, very prepared in order to do Ama Dablam. Otherwise, don't even attempt it.
So this the sort of the rotation that you did. So you went till camp 2 and then you came back to base camp, or
So in fact,
what is
I realized when I reached camp 1, I realized, man, this is too much of a journey up, and I really didn't want to do it again. So I was looking for an opportunity where I can do a summit push directly. And that decision I took because my body acclimatized very well, okay, along with another climber who was with me. She was from Norway. We used to talk a lot, and we knew that we were taking a risk of not doing a rotation, but doing a summit push directly. But we also knew that, in case if things didn't work out well, we would quit. Okay, so we had that agreement, and we convinced the operations team, my mentor Lakpa, who was at the base camp. I had a good climbing leader, Sering. He's also another mentor of mine. So in camp 1, we decided that we'll go to camp 2. We will see if the body acclimatizes well. We push for the summit, and I did Ama Dablam actually without a summit, without a rotation.
Wow.
So don't try it, guys. Don't try it, unless and until you know your strengths. Please don't even, think about it. This was a crazy thought, but for me, doing two rotations was not for my age, honestly.
Wow. Is it possible for people to, let's say, have a longer duration, maybe an outing over there in the region, climb another 6,000-meter peak, get properly acclimatized, come to the base camp, rest for a bit, and then attempt, Ama Dablam in one go? Is that also
It helps.
okay? You advise for people?
It helps. It helps. That was my next conversation topic. So if you think you can do Labuche, okay, don't choose a mountain that is, don't choose Island Peak, okay, because Island Peak is a little bit tougher than Labuche, and it'll drain your energy out, okay. So do Labuche, get acclimatized, and then basically come to the base camp of Ama Dablam, because you're actually coming down, okay, from Labuche, you're actually coming down to 4,700 meters. So see how your body reacts. Last year when I was doing, I did see a couple of people did this approach of doing Labuche and then coming and doing Ama Dablam. One of them was successful. The other couldn't do it because, there was another problem. He has gone up, he has again come down. Then, a lot of things happened. So that's a possibility. But the disadvantage with that is you will not know the route. One of the advantage of rotation is you will get to acclimatize, but you will also understand the complexities of that route. So that when you come back to base camp, you can fine tune your mind, or you can do some little bit of training. You can talk to experienced climbers about some of the challenges that you faced and correct those. So, but if you do Labuche and come and try to do this, you will miss out on that.
Right. Have you met climbers who have done Everest and maybe other 8,000 meters peak but have not been able to climb this Ama Dablam?
Oh, many of them. In fact, the numbers are very different for Everest and Ama Dablam. So if you just take the Indians who have climbed Everest, I think if you add this year's number, it'll be around 600 plus. Okay,
right,
put together. Ama Dablam, I was the 19th Indian to summit. Okay, and if I add up people who did after me and this spring, probably it's around 25 Indians who have submitted Ama Dablam. Okay, so
Wow.
that's the big, disparity there. So yeah, so a lot of climbers who do Everest uh, may not be able to do Ama Dablam, or some of the people who do Ama Dablam may not even be able to do Everest because they may not, do well in the dead zone. Okay, so
At the early game. Right.
both the realities are true.
Right. Okay. So at Ama Dablam, these these campsites that you have actually spoken about, Camp One, Camp Two, these tents they're already sort of set up there and left there, or are these carried by these Sherpas while they are fixing the ropes, and then they are sort of pitched up, and then they go forward.
No, it again depends. Some of the tents I've seen are pretty old. That means they have been those tents have lived their life much beyond what they're capable of because the winds are pretty high as you go
Right.
up. Ama Dablam is windy. The weather is harsh there.
Right.
But I do know that Camp 2, it's very difficult to pitch tents. And those, I think, few of them, they pitch it every year because some will get blown away with winds.
Absolutely.
But yes, the roping happens every year because you can't use the previous year's ropes because they would be weak by the time, the expedition is over. So yeah, some tents are actually pitched afresh.
Right. Okay. So, coming a bit more detail into the training aspect, you said you need a lot of strength, endurance, upper body strength to be able to
Yeah,
uh, climb something like the Ama Dablam. Now,
yeah,
there's a lot of sort of a debate that I almost hear sometimes among people who are wanting to do mountaineering, but they are not very comfortable sort of diversifying the sort of training activity they're doing. So there's
yeah.
always this debate between running versus strength, or strength versus cardio. Okay, how much should we do of a cardio, how much should we do strength? Whereas both these systems are obviously sort of hitting different aspects of your overall fitness. But sometimes people don't understand. What was your mix? And how much, obviously you were training a lot for years and years, but what was your mix of that that right kind of stimulus that you needed, you feel that for something like Ama Dablam you need?
Okay, so for me, what I've realized is, as I said, every mountain is different, right? So you can't have one training regime for all the mountains.
All of
Okay,
it.
Ama Dablam
Yeah.
is a totally different type of fitness regime compared to your Everest or even Labuche for that matter. Okay.
Right.
Now, basically, let me tell you something. Even before I touch fitness, first evaluate, are you healthy? Okay. Being fit and being healthy are not the same. You may be extremely healthy, but not fit. You may be extremely fit, but not healthy. So
Right.
when you start climbing mountains, first thing is, are you healthy? Is your cardiovascular system good? Okay. Do you have sufficient, are you taking sufficient air into the system? Is your heart beating at the right pace? Does it know how to moderate? Right? I'm not telling you need to control your heart. You can't.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody can control the heartbeat. Okay. Control the function of the heart, but you can moderate the heartbeat. Why is it important? Because as you climb in 8,000er or even Ama Dablam, the fatigue increases, the muscles will be craving for more blood and oxygen, and the heart starts pumping more.
Right.
Now, if your entire cardiovascular system is not good, your heart has to do a lot of work, and it continues to beat for a long, high rate for a long
I
duration
read.
of
Yeah.
time, and that could
Right.
fatigue you very quickly. Okay.
Right.
And in the mountains, you don't have the luxury of, अरे यार, देखते हैं 5 minutes रुक के जाते हैं, right?
Uh,
If your heart starts
True.
to beat like crazy when you're climbing the Great Tower, what do? Do you want to hang there for 10 minutes? You can't.
Right.
So you need to be able to moderate your heartbeat by doing some good breathing. So first is, remember guys, assess your health, evaluate your health. Health is very, very, very important.
Right.
Next is your fitness regime. Okay. And we spoke about cardio strength. They are two ends of the spectrum. Okay.
Yeah.
You need cardio strength. Okay. For all the advantages it brings in. cardiovascular function improves, right? By doing some good planned systematic cardio, you can improve your mental endurance. Okay, by doing what I call interval runs, right? You can improve your uh, heart rate moderation by doing something called aerobic endurance runs, or aerobic metabolic runs. You can actually run at a particular pace for a particular duration of time, right? And allow your endurance to build it. Okay, so that is the cardio part. Ama Dablam needs a lot of strength. And apart from strength, it needs something called endurance strength. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Let me take the great Ama, 50 meters long. And if you are just very strong, you can go easily up to 20 meters, no problems. But after that, you can't, right? You will struggle. Okay. You'll be really struggling. Now, if you're doing in the gym what you call as strength training, which is not strength training, you do, lift weights, 10 reps, 15 reps. That will give you some strength. But what I'm talking here is endurance strength. So you need to go with the same weights above 15. So do 30. If you are able to do that 30, right, you are building that endurance to your muscles.
Right.
So that is how I train. Okay. So Ama Dablam, I knew it would be very, very challenging because it needs a lot of strength. And even the strength will have to be sustained for a longer duration of time. That is why I call it as endurance strength. Okay, what is endurance? Able to sustain for a longer period of time.
Right.
So whatever I used to do in the gym for the same weights, right? You can comfortably do 15, correct? But start doing the 16th, 17th, 18th.
To the point of fatigue,
difficult.
in a way.
Yeah. Not even to the point of fatigue. Do 30 instead of 15. 30. Do 30.
Yeah.
Because 15 is your almost failure. Okay, now you've extended by another 15, right? That gives that endurance. Okay, now 15, you're going up to 30, that's endurance. So that is the type of fitness regime that you need to follow specifically for Ama Dablam. I would do a different type of a training for Everest. Okay, but Ama Dablam, it's the endurance strength.
So yeah, so it's a mix of both, as you said. It's not just, and obviously you had to, I think what you did was also, stimulate the conditions, like these pictures that you got, like the 50-meter climb and everything. So you were obviously climbing, doing wall climbing, rock climbing, and sort of doing the repeats. So that also not just building endurance and strength, but also training the movement. I think training the movement is very, very important aspect of it.
No, absolutely, because I stay in Bangalore, no mountains. I can't do anything to go and climb. So I will have to do a lot of simulation around climbing. Okay, that is where I've got some very structured, running program. I do train some people. They are very different from training for a marathon. My runs are very systematically designed and planned. I was very fortunate to find a mentor in the US who was a PhD student. We met by chance, and he said, you give me data and I will give you back a lot of calculations on how to make your runs work for climbing. So all my runs are designed for climbs and not to run a marathon. I can run a marathon, okay? With the training I'm doing, I can easily run a marathon, but that's not my objective, okay? So each of my runs, I do 3 runs per week. Each of them are different. One will train me for call it VO2 max, or call it intervals, call it for your heart strengthening. The other one trains me for pure aerobic endurance or aerobic metabolism. And the third one trains me to just move my body. It's a long distance I do on a weekends. I do 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers runs. And once every month or 2 months, I do this ultra distance cycling. Okay. So this ultra distance cycling, for example, 400 kilometers, 600 kilometers, that means you need to complete these events in a stipulated amount of time. 600 kilometers, you've got a cutoff of 40 hours, total time. Okay, including your breaks, sleep, everything is 40 hours. So that helps me by to be awake in the night. Okay, so this means I need to be cycling for 2 nights. And that helps me with the summit push, because all the summit push happen in the night. Okay, it keeps me extremely awake. So I do these cycling events when I am 2 months, 3 months before my actual expedition, so that I build that muscle memory. So when I'm awake in the night, I'm like super aware. I'm super
Right. So
awake.
that's sleep deprivation training is what we call it.
Sleep
So that,
deprivation training
that
is also, yeah, very important. Yeah.
because we generally see that a lot of climbs, even easier ones, or let's say any mountain, even 5,000, 6,000, because you're pushing at night. And a lot of people who are, the ones who sort of sleep around 9:30, 10ish, I think they find it very difficult
Very
to
difficult. Yes.
push that initial, and obviously by the time you're coming back down. So I think that's one
Yeah.
very important. So this, how much do you advise? Because what happens is when you're pushing yourself so much. I think yes, you're mentioning it right that you start just about 2 months before or closer to your clients, because then sort of your recovery also becomes quite important.
See,
So
basically
uh,
for me, fitness is a regime. Okay, it's a journey. Okay, I do some
right,
basic fitness, but 125 days before the expedition, the rigor starts. Okay, because
yeah,
that 125 days is very specific for that particular mountain. Okay,
yeah,
it could be Ama Dablam, it could be Lhotse, it could be anything. Okay, it's very specific. And sufficient rest is what I recommend. Okay, I'm not telling you to work 7 days a week. Okay, I do alternate days of weight training, alternate days of running. Okay, Sundays I don't do anything, right? Saturdays, so after I run in the morning, there's nothing I do. So I give at least 48 hours of good recovery time. And always listen to your body. Your body will be sending you signals even while you're running. Okay, I've seen people wearing these and listening to songs. How will you listen to the
right,
body signals? Okay, so if
right,
somebody trains with me, the first day I tell them is no music. Okay, listen to the world, listen to the horn, listen to the beautiful birds chirping, listen to your heartbeat, listen to your breathing,
your
listen to your
footsteps.
shoe sound, footsteps, right? So please listen to your body and don't overstretch. The body is like an elastic band. If you overstretch it, naturally.
Fantastic advice. Okay, so some sort of closing thoughts. If just for anyone who's listening out there, let's say who is making a shift from who's already out there, I think active, a person who's trekking, who's out in the mountains, exposed uh, into some sort of a basic fitness regime. I think they already have a good start.
Yeah.
So for them to sort of dream about a mountain like the Ama Dablam and conceptualize and okay, have it as a target. I mean, what do you say? What is the kind of duration, or what are the kind of what kind of advice or regime they should follow? Sort of in a nutshell. I know we have sort of discussed all this through the chat, but to sort of summarize uh, for someone who's like a budding mountaineer thinking of climbing the Ama Dablam, but not yet there in terms of, let's say, a lot of these components that we have spoken, so talked about. What is your advice to them?
Okay. The first advice: never make Ama Dablam as your very first climb, major climb. Never. Okay. So always, make sure that you have climbed another basic 6,000er before you come and attempt Ama Dablam. If you're attempting Ama Dablam as your very first climb, you may be able to climb it with great difficulty. Now, the question that you need to ask yourself is, should I really enjoy and experience the climb, or should I make my climb a struggle and put myself at risk? Okay, so that
Right.
is why I tell, never make Ama Dablam as your very first mountain. It's a very sacred mountain. Respect that. Okay, number one. Number two, you need to build sufficient amount of endurance strength. That means you need to train your muscles. Okay, and training your muscles is like building muscle memory. Okay, it takes minimum, according to what I've seen, what the people I've trained, between 50 to 100 days to build good muscle memory. So start your training regime keeping in mind at least 3 to 4 months. Okay, so 4 months ideal. Okay, at least 3 months you should have sufficiently trained in order to build that muscle memory that will be able to endure you when you're climbing these vertical walls. Number two. Number three, acclimatization is very important. Never compromise on that. Okay. If you need to stay extra days down, please stay. Okay. If you want to stay extra days in Namche Bazaar because your body is not feeling very good about it, stay. And please learn to breathe well. Today, we are all become very shallow breathers. Okay. We have forgotten to breathe well deeply. So please get that back into practice. Please take deep breaths, right? Feel the air, right? You don't have to be, even I cannot be aware of my breath for 24 hours, but at least when I get aware of my breath, I breathe deeply. Okay. So breathe well and train. Okay. There's no other way, no other excuses. Okay.
Right. So
Ama Dablam is a beauty. Ama Dablam is a beauty, but make sure that you approach Ama Dablam with a lot of respect by training yourself, preparing well, and doing everything possible humanly to approach that mother.
And also, I think this advice that you're giving about 3 to 4 months of basic minimum, I think this is also for people who are already on to some fitness journey. They're not on the couch right now. Like someone on the couch right now, someone not. I think that's a much longer journey. Probably
if you're on the couch,
couple of years.
If you're on the couch, Ama Dablam, keep it aside. Okay. If you're on the couch, even forget doing an EBC trek.
Right. Right. So yeah, anything else about the mountain that you want to share? Any of your stories, any of your moments from the climb at the summit? We haven't really spoken about the main summit push. We've covered from Camp 2 to this 800-meter climb, but anything special from those days while climbing?
See, any mountain, while climbing, it's easy because you're climbing in the dark. You're not seeing around. You're not knowing at what altitude you are. Okay.
Right.
And you climb. Now, Ama Dablam is very similar, but the problem with Ama Dablam starts when you start descending. Okay. Now you start seeing the ridge, which is extremely narrow, and you've got vertical falls on both the sides. Not pure vertical, with an angle, right? And you will start realizing, when you are coming down the Great Tower, you will really understand what gravity is. Gravity is not about throwing a ball up and it will fall down. Gravity is, you need to experience what gravity is. Okay. That experience will happen when you are descending down the Great Tower, and it's scary. And number three, I think what I really forgot to tell is you need to be good in using your gear, your carabiners, your jumar, your descender. Right? I've seen people, they clip the carabiner to the rope and don't screw it tight. Okay, because it takes time and you're wearing a glove, right? It's difficult.
Minor detail.
Yeah, but did you know that this year in Everest, people fell because they didn't lock the carabiners, the rope twisted, and if you see some of the YouTube videos, you can see how the carabiner will open when the rope twists in a particular way.
Oh.
Okay, you will fall to death. So don't take shortcuts in life. Okay. So how do I practice that? Whenever I'm in the base camp sitting idle, I put on my mittens, the big gloves. Okay. Use the carabiner. Lock, unlock, lock, unlock. I use the jumar. Open, lock, open, lock. So I can do it now like unconsciously, subconsciously. So use your gear the way it has to be used. Okay. Never take shortcuts in life.
Right. Yeah, I think that's an amazing sort of takeaway, even for me. Learning the kind of focus that you have had. I think this has been an amazing conversation. It was always a striking because I was earlier this year. I was on the EBC trail, taking people to the Everest base camp, and obviously this was an amazing sight. A lot of people were just in awe, standing in between the Mboche and the Buche, just staring at Ama Dablam and saying, okay, wow, what a beautiful mountain.
Yeah.
And obviously from the other side, once you reach the Mboche, you keep staring at this mountain. There's something about Ama Dablam that is obviously is always special. Hearing from you first account, I think that this has been incredible, and you should follow his account. You should see some amazing stories and amazing videos and content that he's putting up from his amazing climbs. And I think the kind of, yeah, that's another thing. I mean, when you were climbing Ama Dablam, okay, but that was actually one question that I wanted to ask. So how did you manage through that technical climb to be able to shoot something when when people would probably be scared to death on those knife edge ridges and walking those, climbing those vertical. From where did you find that scope of, okay, let me also film this? And how was that possible? What equipment were you carrying?
So I was carrying a Insta 360 camera. The 360, it records
Okay,
360 completely, and that helps a lot, right? I can just shoot. I don't have to, focus it anywhere. I just, Ama Dablam, it was I couldn't carry it in my hands, okay? So I had actually
right,
put it on my helmet, and the magic all happens while editing because it has anyway captured the entire 360. I just need to, while editing, figure out, hey, what should my viewers see in that particular video, in that particular frame. So
right.
that's how I do it. But yeah, my videos are amazing. A lot of people compliment me for that. Thanks. I've somehow figured it out to capture good videos. So enjoy my Instagram reels.
Yeah, enjoy those. I think those are amazing. I mean, I would love to see that. That actually, I was seeing those last time. I remember after my Sunday long run, and I was just having coffee and I was just enjoying those videos and I was like, wow, this is a much better kick than caffeine. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, fantastic.
And please respect the Sherpas that you go with. Without them, there are no mountains. Commercial climbing is not possible. They're also human beings. Please treat them well. And when you start climbing, ask them how they are feeling. Okay, are they ready for the climb? Okay, it's not about just you in the mountains. It's about your leader, who is a Sherpa. Okay, so please
Right.
respect them. Please be, generous when you're giving them a tip, the climb bonus or whatever it is. And please also ask them as frequently as possible how they are feeling. Are they feeling good? Okay, and that's the way to build a bond with them. Okay, and please honor them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That's so thoughtful. Thank you, Sunil. Thanks for joining. Incredible talking to you, incredible learning about your experience. And yeah, looking forward to more and more from you coming time.
Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank
everybody for joining. I know it's late, but you all joined, so listen to me. Thank you very much, and yeah, follow my account and ask me questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Sunil. See you. Bye. Bye,
Bye.
guys.